or locate the pickup. Also, the water was rising in the streets, and several times I stepped into water up to my ankles. Then the dashboard light went out. I couldn't read the clipboard. I had no idea where I was. Without the clipboard, I was like a man lost in the desert. But the luck wasn't all bad yet. I had 2 boxes of matches, and before I made for each new pickup box, I would light a match, memorize the directions, and drive on. For once, I had outwitted adversity. That John Stone up there in the sky, looking down, watching me. Then I took a corner, leaped out to unload the box, and when I got back, the clipboard was gone. John Stone in the sky, have mercy. I was lost in the dark and the rain. Was I some kind of idiot, actually? Did I make things happen to myself? It was possible. It was possible that I was subnormal, that I was lucky just to be alive. The clipboard had been wired to the dashboard. I figured it must have flown out of the truck on the last sharp turn. I got out of the truck with my pants rolled up around my knees and started wading through a foot of water. It was dark. I'd never find a goddamn thing. I walked along, lighting matches, but nothing. It had floated away. As I reached the corner, I had sense enough to notice which way the current was moving and follow it. I saw an object floating along, lit a match, and there it was. The clipboard. Impossible. I could have kissed the thing. I walked back to the truck, got in, rolled my pant legs down, and really wired that board to the dash. Of course, I was way behind schedule by then, but at least I'd found their dirty clipboard. I wasn't lost in the back streets of nowhere. I wouldn't have to ring a doorbell and ask somebody the way back to the post office garage. Back to the post office garage. I could hear some fucker snarling from his warm front room. Well, you're a post office employee, aren't you? Don't you know the way back to your own garage? So I drove along, lighting matches, leaping into whirlpools of water and emptying collection boxes. I was tired and wet and hungover, but I was usually that way, and I waded through the weariness like I did the water. I kept thinking of a hot bath, Betty's fine legs, and something to keep me going. A picture of myself in an easy chair, drink in hand, the dog walking up, me patting his head. But that was a long way off. The stops on the clipboard seemed endless, and when I reached the bottom it said, over. And I flipped the board, and sure enough, there on the back side was another list of stops. With the last match, I made the last stop, deposited my mail at the station indicated, and it was a load, and then drove back toward the west garage. It was in the west end of town, and in the west, the land was very flat. The drainage system couldn't handle the water, and any time it rained, any length of time at all, they had what was called a flood. The description was accurate. Driving on in, the water rose higher and higher. I noticed stalled and abandoned cars all around. Too bad. All I wanted was to get in that chair with that glass of scotch in my hand and watch Betty's ass wobble around the room. Then, at a signal, I met Tom Moto, one of the other John Stone subs. Which way you going in? Moto asked. The shortest distance between 2 points, I was taught, is a straight line, I answered him. You better not, he told me. I know that area. It's an ocean through there. Bullshit, I said. All it takes is a little guts. Got a match? I lit up and left him at the signal. Betty, baby, I'm coming. Yeah. The water got higher and higher, but mail trucks are built high off the ground. I took the shortcut through the residential neighborhood full speed, and water flew up all around me. It continued to rain hard. any cars around. I was the only moving object. Betty, baby, yeah! Some guy standing on his front porch laughed at me and yelled, "The mail must go through!" I cursed him and gave him the finger. I noticed that the water was rising above the floorboards, whirling around my shoes, but I kept driving. Only 3 blocks to go. Then the truck stopped. Oh, shit. I sat there and tried to kick it over. It started once, then stalled. Then it wouldn't respond. I sat there looking at the water. It must have been 2 feet deep. What was I supposed to do? Sit there until they sent a rescue squad? What did the postal manual say? Where was it? I'd never known anybody who had seen one. Balls. I locked the truck, put the ignition keys in my pocket, and stepped into the water, nearly up to my waist, and began wading toward West Garage. It was still raining. Suddenly the water rose another 3 or 4 inches. I had been walking across the lawn and had stepped off the curbing. The truck was parked on somebody's front lawn. For a moment, I thought that swimming might be faster. Then I thought, no, that would look ridiculous. I made it to the garage and walked up to the dispatcher. There I was, wet as wet could get, and he looked at me. I threw him the truck keys and the ignition keys. Then I wrote on a piece of paper, 3435 Mountain View Place. Your truck's at this address. Go get it. You mean you left it out there? I mean I left it out there. I walked over, punched out, then stripped to my shorts and stood in front of a heater. I hung my clothes over the heater. Then I looked across the room, and there, by another heater, stood Tom Moto in his shorts. We both laughed. Yes, hell, isn't it? He asked. Unbelievable. Do you think the stone planned it? Hell, yes. He even made it rain. Did you get stalled out there? Sure, I said. I did too. Listen, baby, I said, my car's 12 years old. You got a new one. I'm sure I'm stalled out there. How about a push to get me started? Okay. We got dressed and went out. Moto had bought a new model car about 3 weeks before. I waited for his engine to start. Not a sound. Oh, Christ, I thought. The rain was up to the floorboards. Moto got out. No good. It's dead. I tried mine without any hope. There was some action from the battery, some spark, though feeble. I pumped the gas, hit it again. It started up. I really let it roar. Victory! I warmed it good. Then I backed up and began to push. Moto's new car. I pushed him for a mile. The thing wouldn't even fart. I pushed him into a garage, left him there, and picking the high land and the drier streets, made it back to Betty's ass. Chapter 12. The Stones' favorite carrier was Matthew Battles. Battles never came in with a wrinkled shirt on. In fact, everything he wore was new, looked new. The shoes, the shirts, the pants, the cap. His shoes really shined, and none of his clothing appeared to have ever been laundered even once. Once a shirt or a pair of pants became the least bit soiled, he threw them away. The Stone often said to us as Matthew walked by, "Now there goes a carrier." And the Stone meant it. His eyes damn near shimmered with love. And Matthew would stand at his case, erect and clean, scrubbed and well slept, shoes gleaming victoriously, and he would fan those letters into that case with joy. "You're a real carrier, Matthew." "Thank you, Mr. Johnstone." One 5 a.m., I walked in and sat down to wait behind the Stone. He looked a bit slumped under that red shirt. Moto was next to me. He told me, "They picked up Matthew yesterday." "Picked him up?" Yeah, for stealing from the mails. He'd been opening letters for the Nikolai Temple and taking money out after 15 years on the job. How'd they get him? How'd they find out? The old ladies. The old ladies had been sending in letters to Nikolai filled with money, and they weren't getting any thank you notes or response. Nikolai told the PO, and the PO put the eye on Matthew. They found him opening letters down at the soak box, taking money out. No.
I will choose a life stealer now. His ability is to drain life from opponents.
Oh, shit. No shit. They caught him in cold daylight. I leaned back. Nikolai had built this large temple and painted it a sickening green. I guess it reminded him of money. And he had an office staff of 30 or 40 people who did nothing but open envelopes, take out checks and money, record the amount, the sender, date received, and so on. Others were busy mailing out books and pamphlets written by Nikolai, and his photo was on the wall, a large one of N in priestly robes and beard, and a painting of N, very large too, looked over the office, watching. Nikolai claimed he had once been walking through the desert when he met Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ told him everything. They sat on a rock together, and JC laid it on him. Now he was passing the secrets on to those who could afford it. He also held a service every Sunday. His help, who were also his followers, rang in and out on time clocks. Imagine Matthew Battles trying to